welcome. My name is Shannon Austin and I'm with the Public Works Engineering Office, and today we're going to be talking about stormwater management. We welcome Troy and Jose, who are part of our environmental team, and they deal every day with stormwater management. So Troy and Jose, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do on a daily basis?
Sure. So Troy Lambert, I am an environmental analyst. Been with our environmental office for over 10 years now in various capacities, but most recently, within the last 2 years, I've been kind of the overseer of our stormwater program. Stormwater construction program specifically. Obviously we have a lot of drainage in the city. That's kind of another department, but we work closely with them. Where Jose and I, and then we also have a third member of our team who's not here today, but we do a lot of the construction, erosion control, sediment control management of construction sites. And we also we do a lot of education, public education around, stormwater quality, what can be, discharged into the storm sewer versus what we want to keep out, how to manage it properly and ensure that we're not impacting the Big Sioux River or the water quality of Sioux Falls. So.
All right, how about you?
I'm Jose, and I'm another analyst for the city. I've been with the city for 6 years. My first job with the city was a wastewater operator, so kind of seeing a different side of the world of discharging into the river. And then most recently joined the team about a year ago.
Oh, wonderful.
So I'm a part of that small team that does everything there.
So on today's show, we're going to kind of separate our stormwater into stormwater management and then on the pollution side. So kind of have each one of you take your respective parts, but certainly have a very good conversation about stormwater. So for those that don't know, Troy, can you give us just an easy definition of stormwater management?
I'll try. A lot goes into it, but in general, it is any precipitation that will inevitably end up on the ground into our storm sewer system and eventually into our Big Sioux River. Everything in Sioux Falls, whether it's on your driveways, on your roads, on your lawns, even in some cases in your homes, could potentially end up in impacting stormwater and eventually the Big Sioux River. Okay,
so a lot of people, because they don't necessarily understand the difference between sanitary sewer and storm sewer. So the difference is the sanitary, though, comes from your house, though, right?
Correct.
And so we don't mix those two, right?
No, in Sioux Falls we have completely separate sewer systems for both sanitary and stormwater. We're more fortunate in a lot of cities, older cities in general, they can have combined sewer systems, so that adds a whole other level of complexity to what we're doing. But in Sioux Falls, no, they are completely separate. Stormwater in general, yes, is on the outside of your home, but there are things that happen or that could potentially happen inside the home that could also impact maybe not stormwater, but the quality of the river at the end of the day. So we just want to make sure that residents are familiar with kind of the two different systems and how their actions could potentially impact stormwater.
Okay, so as the water outside comes down or precipitation with rain, what type of different infrastructure is used then to carry that to the river?
Sure. So in Sioux Falls, we have a lot of different systems. What's probably most paramount is the grates you see on the street corners or the gutters in front of your home. Even included in that are your driveways and your sidewalks. They all convey stormwater eventually to the street, to the gutters, and to the storm inlets. In your neighborhoods. And at the end of the day, whatever gets on those surfaces, what goes in your driveway, on your sidewalks, and down those storm drains on your street corners are going to go right into the Big Sioux River with little to no treatment. You will see, definitely around town, you'll see a lot of stormwater drainage ways, ponds in some cases. Most of those are for detention and holding water back for more of a kind of a flood control measure. But they do also provide, provide some level of treatment, allowing certain sediments to settle out. Also can help filter the water to some degree.
Okay.
But in the most part, we don't want to, it's not something we rely on. So we want to make sure we're keeping stormwater in the storm drains and everything else properly managed outside the stormwater.
Okay, so just to compare again sanitary and storm drainage. Sanitary does get treated at the water reclamation plant, and storm, it gets treated but more of a natural method.
Correct.
Right?
It's a natural method. There's a lot less time. I mean, obviously now with the drier year we've had, probably a little more quote unquote treatment. But if we're on a very rainy year, that water does not stay in those ponds very long. So it's not a very thorough treatment method, and we don't want to rely on it.
Okay, so then what would be the biggest impact to the Big Sioux River?
In the city of Sioux Falls, the Big Sioux River, according to the South Dakota Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources, it has a beneficial use. It has multiple beneficial uses, and currently it would be impaired for E. coli and total suspended solids, which is basically the sediment, what could make the river look murky or muddy, but also nutrients. There's a high level of nutrients that we also regularly monitor and identify as a pollutant in the Big Sioux River.
Okay. So I know in the past we've had our street supervisor Dustin Hansen here, and we've had Aaron Fagerness, our drainage principal engineer, but there are a lot of things that the actual city does though to clean and improve the quality as well as of the Big Sioux River, as well as improve storm drainage. What are a few examples that the city does to help?
Sure. So I would say one of our biggest assets is our stormwater construction program. That is where us three, our team of environmental analysts, are regularly going out in the community, inspecting construction sites, ensuring they have proper controls in place to prevent sediment loss from those construction sites. So if you're driving around town, you're in a newer development, or you go by a construction site, you'll likely see some black silt fence, basically plastic fence, on the perimeter of the property. You'll see inlet protection. Those inlets we talked about earlier, there'll be like a tube or some sort of fabric or plate in front of them that helps hold out the sediment from getting into the stormwater. And then, and obviously, we in some cases we do have to issue enforcements if they are not upholding their requirements as far as the cleanliness or the maintenance of those devices.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this: as you talk about erosion control, so as a resident, and I live in a newer part of the city, I see whenever we get rain that those covers that are, or those inlet protection are holding back the water and actually, in my word, flooding the street. I mean, is that what they're supposed to do then? Just to hold back the water and then they eventually let it drain?
Correct. So they basically do hold back water. That is what they are designed to do. They are designed to hold back a certain level of water that under normal rain, under a normal precipitation event, it should not cause street flooding to where the street is impassable.
Okay.
Is it normal to hold water back to where you're probably going to be driving through it? In some cases, yes.
Okay.
They are designed to slowly let that water drain through, probably over the 90 minutes following a rainstorm, depending on the intensity of that rainstorm. It should be under normal circumstances and proper maintenance, which is key. It should be back to a normal dry street or surface within 90 minutes to 2 hours.
Okay. So then also with those silt fences, are they supposed to help with the wind erosion of the dirt or
they can. They're not specifically designed for that. When it comes to wind erosion or dust from a construction site, usually we're recommending them to maintain their haul routes, keep them wet so it doesn't kick up the dust. Rarely do we ever ask them to install any controls outside of vehicle tracking, because once it gets in the air, there's nothing stopping it usually.
Sure.
So yeah.
Okay, so how do we know these measures that we're doing are benefiting how do we test? Do we test the river? Do we have testing stations where we test inlet that has water? How do we test ourselves?
So yet another program that our team works on. We do weekly river testing, water quality testing. So we have 5 locations throughout town. We have one north of town where the river comes into the city. We have one at Skunk Creek, which is a major tributary of the Big Sioux River, and then we have one at Falls Park. You know, obviously a very heavily recreated area, so we want to make sure we know what the water quality is there on a regular basis. And then we have one before our wastewater treatment plant, and then one after our wastewater treatment plant. So that's more, I mean, they obviously do plenty of testing out there, and then they're not going to be discharging anything that they're not allowed to, but it's just more of a general, like, what is the city's impact on the Big Sioux River?
Sure.
So that's why we have the 2 points on the outside of, or on the, would be on the north side of, or east side of town.
So we actually do quite a bit of testing then, just to keep ourselves honest and to make sure that we're doing the best we can do.
Yeah, and that and that data is all available for public review on our website. Okay. It's updated, you know, usually, you know, every few weeks to a month. The new data gets put on there, and they can be pulled off of there, and you know, they can do their own analysis on it, and you know, if they have any questions on it, we're always here to answer those questions as well.
Excellent.
And in addition to that testing, that we do that every week, there's also 4 times during a rain event we will go out and collect samples, so we know what is happening as runoff and flow is going to be picking up as well. So that's another really important piece of it.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so actually, since you spoke up, let's switch over to pollution. So can you give our viewers an understanding of what type of stormwater pollution we currently have then? I know, Troy, you talked a little bit about it, but dive a little bit deeper into those different aspects of stormwater pollution.
Sure. A lot of it is the erosion, just sediment loss from construction sites. Anytime we have mass amounts of ground being disturbed, that's going to cause a lot of sediment. But more of a household sort of thing is whether your lawn equipment, where you maintain or clean that, or where you're storing your chemicals, if you're storing them properly or not, and fertilizer pellets, those sorts of things, yard wastes, typically is what we're seeing and what we get reports for. So those are generally the pollutants that we're kind of concerned with.
So if you have somebody who's throwing their lawn clippings from their lawnmower out into the street, that is something we should not be doing.
Absolutely, yes. That will produce a good amount of nutrients for algae growth in the river, for sure.
Okay, so that's because it eventually then falls with the water and then gets to the river where then it...
Exactly, and there isn't, if you're not in an active construction area or a neighborhood that's being developed, you're not going to always have the sediment controls in place to catch that sort of stuff that prevent the material from making its way into the river. So yeah, again, if it goes into the drain, it's going into the river without treatment. So
talk to me about some different... we did a story earlier this year on painting the inlets. You know, tell me a little bit about the public education, because I know there's probably a lot of people that don't know that if they, you know, what they put in their driveway or in their street actually gets to the river. Talk to me about public education.
Right, yeah, so that is a big part of what we do as well as a small team, is trying to bring awareness specifically to storm inlets. One, they're a nice big slab of concrete, and so we have kind of 2 public programs there. One of them is this year is going to be done by high school students, and we're currently receiving submissions for that. But the other one is the city will commission artists or ask for art to be sent in and submitted, and they will be selected and paid for their work. But we always want them to highlight, sources of pollution, have a quick, short message, but also to get across what we're trying to aim for, and that's exactly that. Whatever ends up in the drain is just going to go direct to the river. There's no real in-between sort of treatment. So it was very successful this last year, and you see those all around a lot of downtown areas, but wherever we do storm inlet replacement, there's a chance for one of those to be painted.
Yeah, that's great. So then I would assume in neighborhoods, probably dog waste is also one of those high number of...
Pet waste is absolutely...
Yeah, or a pet, I guess.
Yes.
So is that also, do we have... people just need to clean up after their pets, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing, right?
Absolutely, and the city has a program, and you see them around, whether it's Kirby, Fort Sod, that sort of thing. But we have stations where you have puppy dog or like plastic bags in place there to be not only to clean up waste, but then to properly dispose of those waste. So, I mean, you can find those throughout every dog park and several places around the city. But yeah.
So if you had to tell our residents, what are the main things that me as a Sioux Falls resident, what should I be doing to help protect and help keep the river clean as well as minimize pollution. What advice would you give people?
Sure. Some of the most common activities that we see that lead to direct parts of solution or of pollution are washing your car in your driveway, all that sediment or oils or solvents or anything else. Again, just running down a paved area, it's going to end up directly in the drain. Something else is when you are doing your yard work or your fertilizing, that sort of thing, whatever, after you're done spreading your pellets or whatever, making sure that they are removed from paved surfaces, because they're, again, just there's the potential for those things to be picked up and put directly into the storm sewer system. Pet waste we've already kind of discussed. Some of the other things is just storage of your either fertilizers, your herbicides, any of those sorts of things, and applying those things as they are directed is another big one. Something else for kind of the general cleaning of an area, and so if you're sweeping out your garage, let's say, do sweeping instead of using flowing water. That tends to also help. And any sorts of maintenance that you're performing on your car, make sure to clean up all spills. And again, just be cognizant of your neighbors as well.
Yeah, so really, it's just the simplest of things of washing your car. I mean, just for residents to take a second thought of, okay, where's this going to go? And then directly down to the river. So I think...
I'm sorry. One more thing that just came to mind. We kind of briefly talked on it earlier about mowing your lawn and those clippings getting in the street. But another significant issue that we're seeing are a lot of properties that abut drainage ponds or drainage facilities, drainage ways. They think they're just compost bins. So there's grass clippings that are being thrown into these drainage ways and into these ponds or on the side of these ponds, which they may think, it's just going to biodegrade and compost and whatnot, but nutrients, they don't just stay there. So that is another significant input of nutrients and pesticides and anything else that could be in those clippings into our stormwater.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I have seen mounds of just somebody threw their lawn bag right on the edge of a detention area. So Jose, what type of resources are available to residents of Sioux Falls?
Well, the city offers many, one of which is the HHW, or the Household Hazardous Wastes.
Okay.
It's a place where residents, again, household specifically, can dispose of their electronics or their household hazardous wastes. So relatively speaking, if it has a small motor or isn't like a personal appliance, it can be disposed of out at landfill versus HHW. If it's a chemical that says something like hazardous or caution, HHW can accept that. So your paints, your oils, gas, batteries, all those sorts of things, can take them to the HHW site. In addition to that, there's also the landfill. For your yard wastes, we do have composting out there now, and anything that, again, would have either a small motor or is an appliance can go out there. So we get a lot of questions about like washers, dryers, those sorts of things. All of that can go out to landfill. Some of the other things there are, you might see things like in food prep, or generally speaking, some of those things, but we get lots of questions about what's accepted, what isn't accepted. So we are updating that list, but if people have more questions, we can always call in, but we'll also have that information on our website.
And the landfill also has extended their landfill pass delivery time, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a very big deal. So that's just tied to your driver's license.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, Troy, what type of, or where is this information available on all of these programs, that if residents are curious?
So the main area that I direct residents to is our website. It's a very useful tool. It's got all the information, all the details on household hazardous waste, landfill, all of our stormwater programs, our construction programs, how-tos on like composting and various things like that. So definitely the first resource would be the website. Second resource you know, for more of the immediate programs like seasonal yard waste sites and times and things like that. For those programs, we're really good about getting out news releases, so check with your local news stations on that. And then also, if you have any questions that aren't answered on our website, we're always a phone call away. Feel free to you know, call our office.
Oh, very
as
good.
well.
Well, thank you guys so much today for this wealth of information. It's important that we as residents do our part to keep our storm water management clean.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Well, that's it for today's show on stormwater management. If you do have any additional questions, please feel free to contact these folks at 605-367-8276. Thanks for watching.